Welcome here to a very special Dolphin Dive. In our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the LeMoyne College Dolphins here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and through Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. We bring in your Dolphins in a special way that you won't find anywhere else all year long. And Wednesdays are Dolphin Time with Dolphin Dive coming every second and fourth Wednesday of each month at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. I am picture in picture with Jeff Lonczak, the head coach of the LeMoyne Dolphins men's and women's tennis teams, and a keeper of history now, which we'll talk about in a moment. A lot of things to get into, and we'll always end with some football love, because if there's one thing I know that I have that I don't think anybody else has when they talk to their tennis coach, is we have full-blown tennis conversations, and then we break down the NFL. Show me another coach that can do that, and I would call BS on that. So, that being said, Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for that intro. I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first and foremost, to let everybody know this history that's been made, obviously with LeMoyne joining the Division I ranks as a full member institution for the first time ever. That means for the first time in the history of LeMoyne men's and women's tennis, our Division I programs as of July 1st, 2023. And joining the Northeast Conference in Division I, there was no team that had ever recorded a Division I win in the NEC until women's tennis did it this season. So I would like to congratulate you first and foremost and celebrate the fact that of every sport on the Heights, the first ever sport to record a Northeast Conference victory in Division I is and will always be women's tennis. So shout out to the women on your team and shout out to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I mean, there was a lot of talk about that going into it. We knew. I made sure the women knew. I mean, I like to put pressure on myself. I like to put pressure on them. I mean, I feel like that's all part of the athlete thing. And there was an extra level, an extra layer of pressure, and they rose to the occasion. And now, that Jeopardy question, whenever it comes up, which team was the one to win it, they can always say, hey, that was us. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's exciting to be able to celebrate that. And it wasn't just the fact that it happened for one of the teams that you coach, but it's also the team that it happened against. When you go and you look at this and you look at what's exciting about joining the Division I ranks. I know that you've played Division I teams before because you love to test yourself, and you've been that way with, these tennis teams, but it was against Binghamton University, who is an associate member of the NEC. And one of the sports that they joined the NEC for is finding a home for their women's tennis team. So this match was in Vestal, New York, an hour away, right down 81, and you win the match 5-2. What does it mean to you that as we go into Division I, you got the first ever NEC victory of any team at LeMoyne, but on top of that, it's against a New York State school, which puts us in another world of creating some hopeful rivalries as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, and that's exactly what I was going to say, Dan. That now is going to be a rivalry for years in front of us for sure. Are we the same school? Are we similar schools? Not really. I mean, they're a state university. They have more funding in some regards. They just purchased my friend's tennis facility, for 1.3 million, and did some work on it. It's beautiful. But we think that from a talent perspective, we'll be able to compete with them for years to come, and we hope to win more than we lose against them. Let's just say that.
And on October 1st, keeping it in the state of New York, you're going to head to Niagara Falls to face Niagara University in a match on that Sunday, October 1st. Just what that means to you is that's obviously fast approaching this weekend, to have another school in the state of New York that you can work to form a rivalry with as well.
Yeah, no, it's huge. And that's the funny thing about this transition, this Division I, this NEC conference. I mean, it brings that more to the forefront, I think. I mean, we have schools like the Niagaras, the Siennas, the Buffalo that are all there on I-90, and we have some schools down 81, things of that nature. And Niagara, we've kind of played for years, but it's just different. Like when you're a D2 school playing a D1 school, there's certain things that go into that. One, I
Yeah.
got to play them on the road most of the time, right? Like they don't want to come to me. I got to go to them. And it's like, okay, you know what? Like I'll schedule you this year. You're not as good. Next year, oh, you guys got good. You know what? I'm full in dates. So now we're D1. Like we got to play each other, and it's great. And you know we're looking forward to competing with them. And I think we're gonna have a pretty good chance on Sunday.
Yeah, and like you said, they're willing to play you depending on how your season goes. But now that you're both Division I institutions, when you're well, now that LeMoyne is a Division I institution, when you're playing the Cornells and the Colgates and the Niagaras and so on and so forth, and the Binghamtons, these games can obviously create some more meaning. And hopefully it's a little bit tougher for them to say, "Oh, we're not going to do that." I know you and I talked about this before, and I don't see them for the men's team or the women's team. But have there been any talks? Is there any hope? Is there an opening? Because I know you play on Skytop all the time, that Syracuse would say, "Hey, you already play over here, so let's have a match."
Yeah, I mean, I think down the road that will happen. I feel like with the commitment that LeMoyne's put into our tennis programs, I think that we're going to be able to get to a place where it can be competitive. I mean, that's the thing. Like I know Eunice is a great coach. He's got a really good team. Right now, I don't think we're at a place where we're going to give his team a good rep. And the fact of the matter is he struggles to get more than six. Like he's a fully funded program, of course, but like to get more than six players of that level is hard. So if he had a team like Cornell, for instance, you know, we're playing them on the men's side, and they're quite good. You know, they're top 25 team pretty much. But they're gonna have an opportunity when they play us that they may be able to sit their top three guys and have a really good match with us and probably still win, you know, type of thing. Hopefully down the road we're gonna make that happen with Syracuse. I got it's my job. I see it as my job to get our team to that level, and I think we'll be able to do it.
Yeah, and to see all these matchups that we have. I mean, you and I have spoken about what's coming down the pipeline and these opportunities that are coming. I want to paint the picture on the women's side and the men's side as I'm here with women's and men's tennis head coach Jeff Lonczak of the LeMoyne Dolphins in this transition into Division I on the women's side. And we know that these seasons are going to be more into the thick of things once we get into January, February time. But you do have some opportunities here with the ITA regional, and then as we go forward, non-conference wise, the women will play Colgate. You'll also play Bucknell. You'll play Lafayette, St. Bonaventure, Siena, Quinnipiac, and you and I have talked about some of this. On the men's side, you will be playing Binghamton, Niagara as well. So, like the women have, you'll be playing Niagara on October 14th. And then at the end of January on the 27th, you'll play Binghamton, Cornell, Colgate, Bucknell as well, Lafayette, St. Bonaventure, Siena, Quinnipiac, and then Niagara again later on. So those opportunities that you have when you and I have spoken about it before of who you could schedule and these Division I teams inside of the state of New York, I'm seeing the St. Bonnies, the Colgates, the Cornells, the Binghamton, the Niagaras, just what that means to you in filling out your schedule and creating your schedule, that the men and women are going to have similar opponents here. And it's going to give us an opportunity to really get into the state of New York and try to create some of those immediate rivalries like we've spoken about. For people that don't know your program, kind of just to give a little background here, like you said, you played Division I teams, you played some of these teams in the state of New York, you've pushed yourself already as a Division II institution, but to know that there's a bunch of these matches coming up with teams that people know in the state of New York, just what that's going to mean to you in these seasons for men's and women's tennis to be able to have so many opportunities in New York.
Yeah, it's so great for us. You know, we're really excited. You know, playing in the NE10 for years. I mean, also great opportunities. But yeah, I mean, we weren't able to really create these, you know, New York State rivalries, which is going to be all over the place now for us. Even downstate when we're playing, you know, the Wagners and the LIU Posts of the world
Yeah.
in our conference. But yeah, I mean, outside of our conference, having Cornell right nearby, having Siena pretty close, you know, that it's just huge for us. And yeah, I mean, personally being from here, most of my players aren't, but being from here, I mean, I want to be as good as we can be in the state of New York. I mean, first, and foremost. So yeah, I mean, it's exciting. We're so stoked for the opportunity.
When you're developing this schedule, looking at what you're going to face inside of the NEC, what did you want to do as far as scheduling wise in being able to build your team? Because you don't just put a schedule together, right? You got to be strategic. And if okay, we're going to really test ourselves and play up against somebody who's got, a high powered team, or maybe someone we haven't played before, or whatever that may be, that, okay, after that match, we're going to give ourselves someone that we have seen or someone we're a little bit more evenly matched with. How did you develop the schedules for men's and women's tennis to reflect a way for your team to learn and grow through this process?
Yeah, I mean, good question. To be honest with you, I wish I could say that there was a lot of reflection, but to be honest, I mean, May 22nd, I had a full schedule. May 23rd, I had zero schedule. So
Yeah.
it became a crunch time thing. And a lot of these schools, I mean, they're making schedules year before. I was lucky enough to have some relationships built with some Division I schools. And I mean, thing people don't necessarily know or understand is that, you know, you try to the amount of D2 schools that you can schedule. I mean, there's limits on it. You can't just say, I'm a D1 school, I'm going to play all these D2 schools, get all these wins. It doesn't work that way. There's limits. So I mean, some of these schools, they couldn't play us before, and now they can. So I was lucky to get a pretty good schedule. And yeah, there's the piece of trying to get a team that I'm gonna hopefully beat, and then a test, that kind of push and pull. But also, like in the past, our women's program was generally rooted in the fall. Like all of our matches were in the
Yeah.
fall. So now we're traveling together, which is going to be a really cool thing. I think for the program, we'll be able to develop even more a more tightly built family. But yeah, but that also adds a little bit into the scheduling piece, because you're playing, let's say you're playing a men's match at noon, you're playing a women's match at 3, same day. So getting all that. Yeah, I mean, we did our best to schedule. It's exciting. We have a lot of road matches, a lot of road opportunities, but with so many D1 schools close by, I think it's going to be great.
And for you, Jeff, I mean, is there put into place an agreement with any of these schools of home and home saying, okay, we're going to spend so much time on the road that after this season, you're going to come to us. We're going to try and bring the St. Bonnies or the Cornells or the Colgates or whoever here. Is that something that's been worked in?
Yeah, I mean, we tried our best to get that done. Some schools were for it, especially conference foes. A big piece of that is, I have a really good relationship with Colgate, so I try to take from a Patriot League team that's coming to Colgate, and work a home and home schedule with them. That's where it works out nicely, because I can play the Lafayette's on the road this year, and next year they will come to us because they have to play Colgate. So kind of working that angle ends up being a win-win for everybody.
So Lafayette being one of those teams, who else do we know is going to do a home and home?
Yeah, I mean, Lafayette for sure, Bucknell for sure. Next year, West Point, we're going to go to, and then I think they're going to come to us the following year. Cornell, I'm probably going to end up just taking the ride down to play them at Reese, because they have such an amazing facility every year with the men. So yeah, I mean, it's Siena will come to us for sure. Niagara will be back to us. Bonaventure will come to us. So yeah, I mean, it's probably 70-30 that all these away matches you see now are going to be homes next year.
So, I mean, obviously it's something to build toward and be excited for the future. But for this season, how do you get your student athletes revved up? I mean, granted, it's not as far, right? It's in the state of New York. Just jump in the bus and get down there. But have you had to navigate this with your student athletes and say, hey, we're going to give up a bunch of home in this initial D1 season, like a lot of the LeMoyne teams have had to do, but it's going to come back to us and we're going to be able to enjoy it on the other side. I mean, have you had to sell it at all, saying, hey, we got to give a little because eventually it's going to come back here?
No, not really. I mean, it's year number 9 for me. Most of my players are pretty comfortable with me. They kind of, they see me, I think, as somebody who's going to do what's best for everyone, and try to lead the best I can. So yeah, those concerns weren't really there, to be honest. And we like to be on the road too. So I mean, it's we have a good time to be around each other. So yeah, I think that wasn't a big thing. There was some, the transition, the D1 thing. There was some fear there, especially on the women's side. But yeah, I mean, I think we were able to kind of position those conversations in a way that you can turn that fear into opportunity, and I think that's something that these girls and guys can have on their resume for the rest of their lives. Is these guys are D1 athletes now, and that's something to be proud of.
When you say that there was some fear in transition here in this Dolphin Dive exclusively on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, featuring the LeMoyne Dolphins men's and women's tennis head coach, Jeff Lonczak, the fear that you could turn into opportunity, what were some of those fears that they had that you had to work through?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think generally speaking, the thought is that D1 is going to be much more competitive. They didn't allow, some other programs might have thought that there was going to be a practice thing. My teams didn't really go there because, I mean, they kind of knew that we both practiced the same amount of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just afraid they're going to get beat, to be honest, and they aren't accustomed to that. So yeah, I mean, going in with that thought day in and day out that you're going to be playing players that are better than you regularly was fearful for them. But my thing is, I mean, that's how you learn. You don't learn mopping up on, like, I'm not gonna name names, but some schools in our conference that we could very easily beat without much effort. And you don't learn from that. You learn from playing great players from around the world on a regular basis. So we know we're going to get better. We know we're going to take our lumps, but we know we're going to get better. And the future is bright in my eyes.
Jeff, you recruit all over the world. So to me, to ask if your recruiting is going to change wouldn't make sense with the information that I've known of you forever, because you're willing to find your players wherever they are. And, look at the roster now, from Spain to Ecuador to England to Peru, as well as Bulgaria. Speaking on the women's side of things, just what you could say first about the women's tennis roster and the makeup of it, and just what you saw in these student athletes that, because I always find it really interesting, the road that you take, because you're willing to go anywhere and find anybody, how you assembled this group. And of course, selfishly, being a card carrying Italian and Hispanic, I always love to see the Spanish speaking culture there as well.
For sure. Yeah, the recruiting thing, like, it's for me, like, what I think I do best in that space is I work hard. I'm tireless. I'm going to recruit daily. That's really what I'm going to try to do. I've been lucky with some of the players that I've gotten. I've been lucky with some of the relationships that I've made that have gotten me other players. For instance, this girl Lily Race from Rabat, Morocco. She's an ultra talented girl. She's going to be a really good player for us, for the in the near future, and 4 years from now, she's going to be great. I got that through Yunus, the Syracuse University coach. He's from Morocco. He knew her. He's like, what? Like, this girl's going to be really good. She's not quite the level that I would want, but I think she'd be perfect for you. So, like, these type of things seem to happen. I guess maybe if I'm going to give myself credit, it might be for tirelessly working to try to get new players, but it's somehow it seems to turn out that way. And yeah, I mean, I'm so excited about this women's roster. I mean, we're very young, 3 freshmen, 3 sophomores, 2 seniors. It's awesome. And I for me, like, the way that I'm thinking about this roster is that I got to continue to recruit hard and continue to get better. And I think my players will, and they'll come.
Well, I think the thing is good things happen to good people, and when you're a good person and everything I've known about you over the years and the time we've spent, you're a very caring person. You're someone that goes off the field and goes the extra mile. You think of people, you I mean, you value a simple message or a phone call. You value an extra 5 minutes with somebody. And I can speak to that on a personal level and a professional level of how you've treated me. So, I can imagine that, they say that successful people always look like they get lucky. But the reality of that to me is when you're a good person and you do things with an honest heart and you're open and you're willing to grow and to learn and evolve and you actually show people you care about them, I think success comes looking like luck when in actuality, I feel like, God commends those that are doing good work. And I think you're always you've always impressed me with the work with you that you've done and the way you care about people. So people can call it luck, but I think it happens to you on purpose.
Oh, I appreciate that, Dan. Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I do my best. I mean, I really do. I try hard, and I wish, I wish more people were into the program the way I am. But I can tell you that there is more people on campus that are very interested in what we're doing, and I hope it's gonna pay dividends for these girls and for the community at large.
We look at that and we look at the men's side of things and where you've been willing to recruit and obviously this doesn't include every place, but on the current roster we look at places like Portugal and England, Australia, Sweden, Jamesville, DeWitt, which is it's an island off the coast of I think one of those Mediterranean areas, and then there's Spain, there's Serbia as well. Obviously, Italy's been a part of this in recent history. When we look at the men's roster, just what you could say about their makeup.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole different ball of wax right there. You know, we're prepared. We're prepared to win the conference year one. I mean, that's what we're going for. That's what we're thinking, and that's the pressure that I'm going to put on these guys and these seniors because that's what they are. And most of these guys are fifth year seniors, and I got to really be around them this weekend and understand how they tick in terms of preparation
Mm-hmm.
because like at the end of the day like you sit here and like tennis is a totally different thing. The way that I prepare isn't the same way that Luke is going to prepare, but I see them prepare and I can tell that the goals are aligned with mine. So we're just jacked. These guys are seasoned. These guys are ready to go. This weekend we competed with West Point and we beat West Point, and we competed with Buffalo and we beat Buffalo, and we competed with some great schools and we were there with them. So yeah, I mean it's really exciting, and I can't wait for the season.
Yeah, and when you're talking about that recently here in Binghamton in the NateRentals.com Binghamton Championships, where you said you had these competitions to let people know. I know you mentioned Buffalo and I know you mentioned Army West Point, but to just go a little bit deeper into what the team experienced on the men's side down at the Binghamton Championships.
Yeah, so I mean it ended up being I brought 8 guys. They ended up playing a total of 44 matches, 3 singles for each guy, 4 doubles for each guy. It was intense. I mean the fall's a place where you're doing 25 practice slash matches during the season, so that's not much. So guys were beat up. Day one was tough, um, but I mean I learned, like I said, I learned a lot of things about these grad transfers. That's what I wanted to bring in year one, because I thought that would give us our best chance to win. I graduated 7 guys.
Yeah.
So I learned that, Alvaro Nunez, a 4-year starter at Southwest Baptist, a really good D2 school. I learned this guy is not afraid of any situation on a tennis court. He knows how to win. Like I learned that about Leon as well. Like I learned that these guys know how to win, and that's at the end of the day, we're all competitive, but that's something that isn't taught. Like you don't just
Yeah.
know how to win. So you learn how to win, and then you know how to win, and that's going to pay dividends down the road.
Yeah. And And like you said, I mean, the grad transfer route, when you're building these rosters and you're doing, what you're doing, like willing to go anywhere around the country and anywhere around the world. And at the same time, looking at, okay, we're going into Division I. Let's get some of these transfers in. When you're assembling this crew, you said that on the men's side, your goal is to win the NEC. The women's side, you said obviously, they're younger, but what do you see from them? Are they developing? Because we've seen a lot of success for the men advancing to the NCAAs in multiple seasons here in recent history. Are you seeing the women's team start to gain some traction in where they're heading, albeit that they're young? Do you think that there's signs there that we can see them evolve as and progress as we've come to expect so many things from the men's tennis side? What can we expect from the women's side?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll be honest, our goals aren't exactly the same as they are with the men's team. Um, but yeah, I mean, the three freshmen that I brought in, I feel like they're going to be a centerpiece for the program going forward. Some things changed in terms of recruiting rules for D1 women's tennis that is going to make me focus my energy a little bit differently. So yeah, I'm going to bring in a more limited amount of players in the next probably year or two.
Yeah.
But I think with that, I'll be able to focus on, people that I really want to be there and that are really going to make the program better. And from a development, aspect, yeah, I mean, I feel confident that what we have now should be able to compete in the NEC down the road.
And then, facility wise and in places that, you go and play your matches at off campus, is it going to be the same here in Division I as far as where you're going to be performing these matches, or is there anything that's changing that we should know about, just where we're at as far as where you'll be playing?
Yeah, I mean, with the women transitioning to the spring, the schedule starts on February 2nd with the women. So I mean, we're not going to see an outdoor tennis court probably for a few months. So we'll be at Elevate, which is where we want to be. They love us, we love them. They're our corporate sponsors, they're our corporate partners. So I mean, going forward, that's a relationship we really want to continue to have. The four courts isn't as ideal as six courts, but at the same time, like we want to be where we're wanted, and
Yeah.
and those guys have been friends for me for years, and they've worked with me and worked with us and helped me, and we help each other. So yeah, we're so excited about being in Elevate for now and hopefully the future.
Yeah, and obviously excited to have that opportunity. And like they say, you dance with the one that wants to dance with you. So Jeff Lonczak here with me of LeMoyne men's and women's tennis, their head coach here for the Dolphins in this edition of Dolphin Dive on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Before I let you go, there's a few things here. Unless they change the NCAA rule, which is a very strange rule that I feel needs to be adjusted so that there can be postseason play when we're looking at all sports, you can compete for an NEC title. Is there anything, because I know in certain sports there's loopholes and opportunities to do different things. Does tennis have a postseason beyond NEC? And if so, what could be the options?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case for the next couple of years. But like you said, you dance with who you wanted, who wants to dance with you. Like sometimes, maybe we weren't invited to every party in high school, but we showed up anyway. So our plan is we're gonna show up to the party, man, and you know what, like I want to be like Merrimack was last year. Take the conference title, and then they pick the team that we beat in the final to go to the NCAA tournament. That would be cool in my book, and I think everybody could get behind that. So that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, and I think the more the NEC does that, the more this rule by the NCAA might have to change, because that's not positive publicity for the NCAA when it is positive publicity for the NEC. My big question to you then is, since you've been coming down to Orlando and Florida's a second hub of my company and a second home for me personally. Since you've come down for Orlando with the men's team in the last couple seasons, advancing to NCAAs, now that you're going to have that time open, does that mean that you and I get to take a trip to Orlando and go have fun doing something else? Is the big question.
Ooh, man, hey, May's looking good for me, Dan. I'm down with that for sure.
Yeah, the weather's good too. The weather's not
Oh,
bad over at that point.
for
So
sure.
just something to think about, because we usually just miss each other. And now if the NCAA is going to keep this rule, at least for a little while, I'm just saying I could see
Yeah,
an Orlando trip in our future, which is more relaxation time.
for sure, for sure. Book it. I'm ready.
I like that. Final thing here, final note with Jeff Lonczak. You're a Bears fan. I'm a Jags fan. It's been a rough go. The Jacksonville Jaguars much more talented than what they're showing on the field. And I love the fact that I get to do a segment called On the Prowl. We have a new music, growls of the Jaguar, and graphics that go into the whole piece that I do all throughout the season and beyond in my one-on-one conversations with the Jaguars. You being a Chicago Bears fan, we've both played Kansas City. We've both witnessed it. The Jaguars should have won their game. Chicago was in a giant lopsided loss in that respect. Jacksonville's offense couldn't get it going in their game, but their defense did a tremendous job. So what can you say about your Bears and what you like, what you don't like? And then I'll give a little talk about my Jaguars here.
Yeah, no, I mean it's oh man, it's difficult, uh we spent some money in free agency, specifically on Tremaine Edmonds, like off-ball linebacker, which to me isn't exactly this huge position, that warrants that type of money. Guy's a good player. I mean, TJ Edwards also in free agency, I thought was a nice pickup, but we paid minimal for him. We just our defensive line is just still. I mean, we couldn't get any pressure today. Ngakwe there from the Colts, he's pretty good, but I mean, I think they can just double him or chip him with somebody. And our offensive line is just, I mean, it's just a complete mess. I mean, we're out both of our guards. Our left tackle was out. So it's like a Band-Aid. I mean, they're just getting pressured relentlessly. It's just, I don't know. I mean, it's I don't want to ruin my day, man. I just want to be happy. Let me get a win. It's hard. It's really hard. I think I'm sticking with Fields. I can't. I don't know another way to go. Tyson Bagent is an interesting guy. But come on, is he more talented than Fields? I don't think so. We had some pretty good draft picks. I think, to be honest with you, I think it's time to go to make a change coaching wise. I don't understand a lot of the play calls and concepts and the things they're doing with Fields. I think something's got to be done. I don't like to call for coach's head, but like, I don't know where do you go? Like, I don't know. So that's my Bears rant. Sorry.
No, I cannot. I mean, listen, I can understand. And, you think about it, Justin Fields was that pick by the Bears in the same season that the Jets took Zach Wilson, and the Jacksonville Jaguars took Trevor Lawrence, who I've had the opportunity to speak with these last couple of weeks. And obviously I covered him when he was with the Clemson Tigers in my coverage of the entire ACC over the last decade. And, now I have to live with the fact that this team has underperformed. The defense showed up and the offense didn't. And then in the game against the Texans, it seemed like the offense was struggling. Well, the offense was moving. They just weren't getting in the end zone. And the defense this time around was leaving wide open gaps. It looked like there were plays that were just being taken off. I mean, the team's so much better than that. I spoke with them in the locker room about the fact that, is this a good reset time? The fact that they're going to London for back-to-back games against the Falcons and the Bills. Is this the perfect time to get together, to be a team, to get rid of the distractions, to start to love each other again, pick each other up? See, because the thing with Jacksonville that some of the guys talk to me about is this is a team that doesn't get a lot of hype. And last season, I mean, you think about it, when they almost went to the Super Bowl in 2018. The next season, it's like, oh, okay, well, what's Jacksonville going to do now? And they fell off the face of the earth. Well, last season, same thing. Jaguars, nobody wanted to talk about them. I'm speaking about the Jaguars, doing on the prowl, running my interviews, doing what I've done for many, many, many years, and nobody wants to talk about Jacksonville. Now everybody wants to talk about Jacksonville. So the chip goes off the shoulder. Now there's hype. Maybe some people buy into that, and that affects the team. I think you always have to keep a healthy chip on your shoulder. That's the way I look at it. If you're at the top of the mountain, well, okay, what do we have to do to get to the next mountain and climb that one? You never just stand at the top of the mountain and go, look, I'm awesome. I'm on the top of this mountain. I'm a god. You're not a god. That lowercase god to me doesn't exist. There's only one. And so once you get to a certain place, you got to keep working. You got to remember where you came from, or else you're doomed to forget how you got to where you are. And if you forget how you got to where you are, how do you go any farther, and how do you stay where you're at and succeed there? I think a lot of people that have had success in their life, notoriety, and have people talking highly of them in and out of sports, if you get lost in it, then you very quickly fall right out of it. So I feel like Jacksonville really just needs a come to Jesus moment. Let's work together. Let's figure this out. Let's talk about it. We know that we're talented. We can't get down in a hole type of thing, and to just work together and move forward. I was leery of the Texans game, and I'll tell you why. Last season I was covering the game, and here they are, a good team. You look at the end of the season, you go, wow, this was a good team that almost beat the Chiefs on the road. If they had not dropped that interception and not fumbled the ball by the goal line, look at what this game could have been. And then you look at the Texans game last year. They came into Jacksonville, they won 13-6, and it was awful. Well, this game, the Texans win 37-17, and I'm writing my article, and which you could check out on wakeupcalldt.com, which is newly renovated and upgraded and progressed, and we did a lot of cool things with it. So I'd love for you to check it out. And when you go there and you see the articles, the article says that it's essentially time for this team to gather again and figure things out. It's time to round everybody up and start figuring out what's going wrong. And I said, you know what, just for argument's sake, I know last season and this season against the Texans, Jacksonville hasn't looked like themselves. So then I said, how many games have the Texans won in Jacksonville in a row? They've won 6 straight games in Jacksonville. And to add insult to injury, that streak started on October 21st, 2018, which just so happens to be the birthday of the Jaguars' biggest fan, me. so
6 in a row. Wow.
Yeah. So I was like 6 in a row to the Texans, making CJ Stroud look like Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or whoever you want to say. So now, they got to get on the right side of things. But I think in the case of Jacksonville, they're talented, they're capable. They just need to get the chip back, not buy into their own hype, and not turn on each other. And I think that's what it comes down to. You're talented, you're good, but some teams that are really talented, they have that mentality of, we know we're good, so, we'll win. And that's not how you walk into something. You don't just say, well, we're good on paper, we're awesome, we're going to beat these teams. No, you have to walk in there and you have to do all the things that made you successful, and you need to be focused on that. So, I think that to me, it's really simple. They got to get focused and they got to do it quick.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember watching Jordan my whole life, and he would create reasons to beat teams or individuals, and he always had a chip on his shoulder, and yeah, you can never lose that. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. So hopefully the Bears and the Jaguars can claw their ways to victory. They have claws. I don't know if they went to the groomer and they got them declawed or what happened, got them shaved off, but the Bears and the Jaguars hopefully will have some good positive stuff to talk about as we move forward. Jeff Lonczak, a Bears fan, and of course your head coach of the men's and women's tennis teams at LeMoyne in Division I now as of July 1st, 2023. Jeff, as always, I appreciate you. I value our friendship, and I'm just grateful because every time we get to talk on the air is cool, but I'm an honest guy. Our off the air conversations are even better.
Even better, man. Yeah, we got to keep them going, and yeah, I can't wait to have you down for a match for sure, and we'll get together after for sure.
Absolutely. Well, sounds good. And I look forward to talking with you soon.
All right, thanks so much, Dan.
Thank you.